Okay, so in the saddle, you've got a few different ways of how you can explain and communicate with your horse. So one technique that I use a lot is training setups. So this is actually using the environment to help explain to your horse what we're working on to create behavior, that kind of thing. So for example, a really simple one that we use, we have stationary targets or a mat that you ride to. So that teaches the horse kind of where you're going, what the plan is, and it gives them a focus. That's a training setup, and then you can work on the exercise in between. So for example, in the photo there, you can see that as Freckles was learning to jump with a rider, we would ride to a target, and that helped give him a lot of clarity about what we were doing, going over the jump and to the target. The jump itself is also another big cue for the horse, and I use things like leg yield lanes and round pens and different pole setups, even specific areas of the arena, that kind of thing, to help explain to the horse what we're doing. Now, these are usually training techniques, so we do it at the beginning. Obviously, now he can jump without going to a target. So they're just kind of ways to explain to the horse what we're doing and help to make learning the exercise easier, and they will be faded out. On top of that, you also have your internal and external cues. So your external cues are the ones that you have to teach your horse. They will be like voice cues, rein cues, leg cues, that sort of thing, that you go through a process of teaching your horse. They don't know them naturally. A lot of these will transfer directly from the work you've been doing on the ground. Your internal cues are ones that your horse responds to very naturally. Again, you'll have done some of these on the ground through the gymnastic groundwork course, but things like your focus, how fast you move, your body position. When you're on the back of your horse, things like your weight aids make a huge difference. If you're braced and tensed in your back, or you collapse to one side, your horse is going to respond to these all the time, partly because they're just physically balancing you, and partly because it gives them a lot of information about what you are asking for. And we want these to be really working together. So for example, if you are turning right, you might have a training setup, which is a target over there. You might have a rein cue, which you've taught from the ground, means go this way. You can use it from the saddle. If you put a little bit of pressure on this right rein, the horse will bend their head and generally go in that direction. But you also want your body to be supporting that as well. So if you do that, but your weight's actually falling to the left, you're probably going to end up going out through that left shoulder. Your horse is doing exactly what we're asking for, because they're going to respond to that weight shift by going kind of catching you and going underneath that weight. On the other hand, if you've got that awareness and you bring the weight this way and you kind of soften with your shoulders, you're far more likely to get a balanced, soft turn. So we really want those two to be working together, and I teach this throughout the exercises in the course, the way that the cues combine and how that you can really improve that subtlety of communication for your horse. One other thing I just want to talk about here is the difference between pressure cues and tactile cues. So pressure cues are generally ones that have been taught with pressure and release. Now, the way that works is that there's some level of aversive or something that the horse wants to avoid. So a really common one, for example, would be to ask the horse to walk on. You maybe use your voice, walk on. If they don't respond to that, you squeeze with your leg. If they don't respond to that, you squeeze harder, harder, harder. And then obviously some schools of thought, you give them a kick, you give them a hit with a whip, squeeze with the spurs. And once they go forwards, you stop, telling them to go forwards. And they learn that in order to avoid the escalating pressure, the harder kicks, the spurs or the whip, that if they go forwards from a little squeeze, then that stuff's not going to happen. A tactile cue is where you will squeeze with their legs, but because of the history in it, the horse goes, I know what I mean, what this means. If I go forwards, I'm likely to get a reward. So it's quite a different feeling in the brain and quite a different emotional setup for the horse. And of course, we want to maximize these feelings of, oh, I know the answer. Oh, yes, let's do this. Clarity, confidence, moving towards a reward, increasing that idea, that feeling of joy and positivity. If your horse has a history of being ridden with a negative reinforcement, that's absolutely fine. They can change over time. So you might have a horse who's been taught like that maybe there was tension at the beginning, but then it's been very soft. The exercises have been really fun and suitable. The riding's been really good. And they may have changed their emotions about it and be like, yeah, sure, we'll go forwards. or they may not, in which case you might have to do a little bit more work changing the associations of the specific cues. But I think it's just important to understand that difference. Using tactile cues, which means touching the horse in some way, I think is really beneficial. There are some schools of positive reinforcement where they try and do as little of that as possible. I actually think touch isn't and shouldn't be aversive to our horses. And in terms of riding, it's a very close kind of physical relationship that you've got with your horse when you're sat on the back of them, and they feel and respond to everything that's going on in our body. It's a very tactile experience. So we want to be aware of this in order to be able to use it, and when it feels good for both of you and you understand each other, the level of communication and subtlety and connection is absolutely astounding, and something that you and your horse can have a lot of fun and joy with, working in a really nice partnership. So of course, this means that you are going to be a nice, rewarding rider for your horse. You're going to be someone that your horse wants to ride them. And these pictures here, this is covered in the course, but you'll see it. You can see in these pictures here, this was a lesson I was giving. And the picture on the left, Sophie was tight. We exaggerated her natural position so that you could see in the video how it changes. But she was carrying some tightness in her back and hips and shoulders. So I got her to kind of increase that. So just tensing up against the horse a little bit. And you can see Elphine's posture, balance, tension, emotional and physical, has really increased. She's tightened up as well. Her head's lifted. She's bracing through her neck. She doesn't look very relaxed and happy. She's braced through her jaw. And then we worked on Sophie's position, again covered in the course, where we worked on getting her into alignment, moving with Elphine, and it changed Elphine's entire posture and emotional experience of being ridden. So this is why it's really important to understand how the cues work together, and it changes the whole experience of being ridden for your horse. Okay, so this course is a progressive program. It starts very, very basic, again, like the gymnastic groundwork course, it's just with the real basics of walking, and builds up through lots of different exercises using poles and mats and different obstacles, teaching different changes of balance and posture, beginning to lengthen and shorten strides, moving on to collection, to extension, engagement, looking at lateral exercises, working outside of the arena, all-terrain training, using slopes and different surfaces. And it builds very, very gradually and progressively. So you can absolutely follow it step by step all the way through. So the way that the course is set up is that each of the following modules is going to cover a very simple behaviour. Maybe a couple of behaviours that work together like walk and halt, but generally a very simple behaviour. And there's going to be an overview unit which explains what you're looking for and why, how to ride it, how to train it, the different ways that you can build up to it. There's going to be links to groundwork exercises that you can train the same thing on the ground. There's going to be a selection of ridden exercises that help you address this specific thing. So there's probably going to be 5 or 6 in each module that are different ways of practicing and refining the particular behaviour that we're working on. I'm going to cover a troubleshooting section in each bit, which is when things go wrong, and include as many real life examples of that as possible and how we can kind of fix it. And then at the end of each module, I'm going to include a kind of general theory training tip for you, which is related to riding, so that you can continually think about how you can improve and refine the whole ridden setup for you and your horse. So that's the kind of the setup of the course, and you can really follow it in detail all the way through progressively. So what this leads to is a Positive Allrounder. Now this is my program that I use to train my horses to be able to do a little bit of everything. I want my horses to be able to do a bit of dressage, a bit of jumping, some obstacle courses, go riding with friends, hack out on the trail, like just do a little bit of everything. And I call it a Positive Allrounder because when I was a kid, the thing that you always wanted in a pony was that they were a pony club all-rounder, which meant they could do a little bit of everything. But of course now we're training it positively. So this is what I'm looking for, is the horses that have got this kind of adaptability and variability. It also creates a really great foundation if you do want to specialize in a specific discipline or specific area. It's going to give you and your horse a really strong foundation of connection, ability, both physical and emotional, that you two of you are working together and can kind of tackle a lot of different problems together already. Or if you want to continue just doing a bit of everything, then you can play around with a nice variety with your horse as well. So this course follows my program, the exercises that I use with my horses and my clients to kind of create this positive all-rounder. Okay, so if you are interested in this course, then come and join us in the CT Club. You get access to all of our home study courses, which have hundreds of training videos in, and they're all step-by-step progressive courses and videos showing positive reinforcement with a whole load of different behaviours, horses, situations, and of course there's plenty in the riding there too. And you get instant access to everything, as well as all of our support events. You can join us live at Q&As, come and chat with me. I love to meet everybody. And there's a lot of different things going on. We have quite a few different monthly events, study groups. There's lots of support and there's a really nice community. You join monthly, so you can join for as long or as short as you like, and you can find out more information and sign up by going to connectiontraining.com, and then just click on Learn CT Online, the CT Club in the middle, and you'll get all the information there and links to sign up. As I say, you can join for as long or as short as you like, so you can come and try it out for a month, see if it's for you. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.